Welcome back to my channel. If it's the first time you're here, then welcome. And I'm going to be showing you how I do simple skies in watercolor. So I'm going to divide the paper into 4 sections. It's not a long video, it's quite short, and it's just a really fun way to do experiment. So you can use this to experiment with your paints or with different brushes. So painting skies don't have to be difficult. The key is if you don't spend too much time, a lot of time, less is more in watercolor. So if you just do the sky as quick as you can and don't mess around too much, it seems to work much better in watercolor. So having said that, let's jump straight into the video. Decided to use cold press. Thought it'd give me a nice bit of a texture if I need it. And you can see I've got my board tilted at a 40-degree angle, which is the usual way I do things. And I've just masked off my paper using it's quite a wider masking tape. And this is ideal because you can get a nicer, thicker border. And this masking tape is really low in tack, so it doesn't tear the paper as much. And this is quite a cheap tape that I got from the supermarket. You get 2 in a pack for like £1. So I'm happy using that, and you can see first box, just going for a little bit of colour. I've got a little bit of yellow ochre in there, and then the ultramarine and cerulean blue mixed, and then just a little bit of a grey mix towards the bottom. So first of all, if you look at each square, usually I'd use a big brush in the sky just to get that mix and like an even coverage. But if you look at each square and almost treat that as a separate painting, so each square is a piece of paper. So you look at the brush in comparison to the size of the square, then it is a big brush. So usually I would use a big brush, but for this demo I'm using a medium sort of brush, so it's going to cover quite a lot of each square, so I do get the results that I want. You can see the way the colours have mixed on the left hand side square or box. So for this square I'm just going to do a simple cloudy sky, so just using my mix of blue again, and then you can see that I'm using a little bit of a spray just to soften some of those white areas. And then I'm just going in, I've cleaned my brush and just a tiny bit of water in there, just adding a little bit of water to the colour, and just tickling it and moving it just a little bit, just to soften it and get a nice little bit of blending. And then I'll also go in with lift out some clouds, and I'm just doing that, scrunching up a little bit of tissue. And it's important just to vary the shape of the tissue, so scrunch it up and every now and then just turn it and tweak it. And you can see there I'm just rubbing it against the surface of the paper, and that gives me a nice smooth, fluffy, almost misty sort of cloud. So you can put as much detail in as you want doing that, but I want to keep it as simple as possible. And this is just really nice soft skies. Now this one, I must admit, this is for me the most difficult wash, is like a solid wash, and I'm gonna do a slightly lighter towards the bottom of the box. So just adding a little bit more of the blue mix. Again, this is French ultramarine and plenty of cerulean blue in the mix. And then I'm just adding more water and less paint as I come down. So it's easier to do this in smaller sections, but I do find it hard if it was a full page or a full piece of paper. I do find it difficult to get a straight, smooth block of colour. I that's something that I'm working on. But again, I think key is using bigger brushes, plenty of water and plenty of paint mixed up. So you don't want to be stopping halfway through just to get some more colour mixed up, because that would obviously, doing a wash like that, you need to be quite quick. So it's just beneficial to have enough paint mixed up. So this one I'm using more of the yellow ochre, which I do love putting in skies, and I'm going for a more grey sort of look, and I'm letting the pigment sort of come down the paper. Now sometimes it's nice to change the angle of the paper, so you could pop the board on its side and let the paint run sideways on the painting, or you could just let it come straight down like I'm doing here. So there's many different ways you can do this, and I'm just lifting out again just to get some light in the clouds in the sky, so you can see the effect that has. And I'm just softening that with the spray and letting that pigment run down. So I'm just taking off the excess that's coming across the tape, so I don't want that to bleed back and give me any unwanted sort of cauliflowers or anything. So that's quite important. Sometimes you can have a little bit of a pool gathering and you don't want that to cause any issues. And like I said, this tape, it's quite nice because it's really low in tack. It's a cheap sort of decorator's masking tape. And I think one of the other things, you got to remember which tape went over which. So you want to pull the top tape off first, so you don't obviously tear the paper. And then you shouldn't really have a problem. And also pulling it away from the paper, so at an angle as well, so you can see the angle that I'm pulling the tape down, and that gives me a nice smooth border. And obviously you can see you could maybe add a little bit of a landline, a bit of a hillside or anything like that to any of these little sort of almost thumbnail sort of sketches. But there you go, just a nice simple loose exercise. You can do this to just to try your brushes, work with different pigments. You see the nice soft, so there's some light coming in through the blind. There you go, that's better. You can see the sort of cloud look. I know some of them are a bit sharp, but I could have worked on that a bit more. But it's just to give you a quick idea of how to achieve a nice simple loose impression of a sky. And obviously, like I said before, less is definitely more in watercolor, so you want to try and get things done in one go or possibly two, but you don't want to mess around too much. You don't want to keep going back in with more paint, and if you do, make sure it's thicker than the sort of first wash. So there you go, hope you liked that video. Remember, less is more in watercolor. The best thing is just to work quickly, nice and loose, and it gives you a nice fresh organic look. When you start to fiddle and mess with detail, then it seems to look more unnatural. This video, hope you found it useful, just a quick one, and I hope it helps in your painting. And it's something you can try. You can maybe section off your paper and just try different studies, or if you're trying to improve certain things, maybe you're mixing or blending or wet and wet, whatever it may be, you can divide your paper into 4 and just do these little exercises, and hopefully it does come in handy for your painting. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you again in the next video.